Hi, I'm Chris Frankel, Director of Programming for TRX. You're watching the weekly sequence. This week we're going to take 4 exercises that map back to the squat, the foundational movement for this week. The science behind the sequence this week is challenging those squatting patterns in different force vectors and being able to get your core to engage with different angles. So the first thing we're going to do is look at a TRX hamstring curl. Kim's going to go ahead and perform the hamstring curl with her hips lifted up. Remember, you can scale these by keeping hips down, moving out from the anchor point, taking advantage of the pendulum, but then it just becomes triple flexion, triple extension. You're keeping tension in those glutes, you're keeping tension in the core, and you're bringing those knees in. Let them go back out. Bringing those knees in so they're right on top of the hips here, and then pushing them back out. Make sure you keep those shoulders down and back. We're bringing that core back into play here. Proximal stability leading to distal mobility. The next move, we're going to let her drop her hips. We're going to have her reset herself so her feet stay right underneath the anchor point when we do this hip press. Once again, we want you to find your level of progression. Make sure you learn the level of progression that's going to be most effective for you. So now that you've gotten that triple flexion, triple extension down using hips, knees, and ankles, we're going to start with knees stacked right on top of the hips. That core engages, driving those heels into the foot cradles, and then driving those hips up, looking for that alignment. Knees, hips, shoulders, up and down. Don't let those hips touch to begin with. Let yourself drive up and down. If you need to take a little break between reps, you would reset at the bottom, re-engage that core, and come up here. We're trying to get you to use those glutes, get those hips to extend, to get them to carry over to what you're doing in the squat. Right after that, we're going to have Kim stand up, adjust the suspension trainer to mid-length, and we're going to go to the TRX overhead back extension. This is a great exercise to be able to teach that hip hinge so that core stays stable, spine stays long, and you learn to move into hip flexion, hip extension. She finds that end range first, core turns on, and now she's going to break at the hips as she goes back. Back stays nice and tight, nice and long. Hamstrings turn on, glutes turn on. Tension stays on the TRX suspension trainer the entire time. Drive this from hamstrings and glutes. One more time down, in control going down. Keep tension as you go down. Little pause at the bottom here, re-engage that core, and come up nice and strong. So now we've got hip flexion extension in that position. We're going to readjust the suspension trainer to mid-calf, and we're going to finish up with the TRX crunch. Now you might be thinking, what does a crunch have to do with the squat? Well, I want you to notice this pattern. You're still going to get triple flexion, triple extension, and now we're challenging that core to resist extension here. So we're just keeping the pattern similar, making that core work in different ways. Lift those knees up off the ground, find that plank first. Think about that core staying nice and tight, and now knees in, knees out. You can take a little bit faster. Knees can come a little bit closer in and out. We're going to do about 2 more reps. Think of this as a squat turned on its side, keeping those patterns going, keeping the core working, come down and relax. And that sequence put together takes a lot of the components of the squat and lets you work on all areas individually and put them back together to maximize the most out of the squat, one of the best lower body exercises. So while this week's weekly sequence really worked on the posterior chain of the lower body, make sure you come back next week and we're going to work on pulling movements to get the posterior chain of the upper body.